Day 4 of week 3. We will be doing authors today. This is always fun. So I've opened up my project folder. I'm all ready to go here. Let's get a new project started, right? I haven't even looked at the requirements yet, but that's okay, because I pretty much know what I'm going to need for all these projects at this point, right? So what do we want to do first?
Init.
Let's init. All right, -y, good. I like that. Okay, we got our package.json, very nice. And typically, what are we going to install? Express. Mongoose. We do need that guy. All right. Boom, good to go. All right, let's go ahead and create our server file just so we have something working and running. So server.js. What am I going to import there, or require, I should say? Whoa, man. Come on. Oh, I changed my... There we go. Express. Okay, I heard someone say const something or other. What are we going to do now? We're going to create an application, right? And that's going to be what invoking express returns, right? Which is an actual app. All right, and what do I have to do at the bottom of this guy? Got to listen on some port. Let's say 5,000. All right, very good. All right, now we know for sure that we're going to have a static app, or like our front-end Angular application. Do you guys prefer that I make that right now, or should we just leave that for later?
Later.
Yeah, let's do it later. You want to do it right now? How many people want to do it right now?
I'm confused with the question.
All right, forget it. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm making an executive decision. We're just going to build out the back end first. No front end whatsoever, okay? We'll get it entirely working, and then we'll get to the front end. All right, very good. So how do we go about building this back end?
We need to add the rest of our files and folders.
Okay, yeah. So what would we typically require here?
The little path.server.
Okay. So when we said Mongoose, we're going to have this file called Mongoose that does some things for us, right? It's going to connect to our database, and it's also going to load in whatever models we have. So maybe it might be a good time to take a look at the requirements, no? All right. Let's have a look here. Yeah, at some point we may want to look at this. All right. So we've got this little application that has 3 different Angular routes, front-end routes, okay? So one route is just going to show us all of our authors, like a show all page. And then we're going to have another route here where we can create new authors. Finally, we're going to have a route where we can update authors. So this is pretty important. I think some people at times get stuck on the whole update component. All right, so we'll cover that as well. All right, nice. So we know that we have these 3 routes. We know we're going to have an author model, right? Okay. Each author will have a name. That much is clear. I'm also going to add an age to this too, just to spice things up. All right. Very good. Yeah, it's going to be super spicy.
It says quotes on the project.
Quotes?
Yeah, if you go up on the text, it says name and quote. Names and quotes are at least 3 characters long.
Oh, right in this little tag thing here?
On the third,
Yeah, it's up there.
at the top, in the third paragraph,
Yeah.
it says use backend validations to ensure that all author names and quotes are at least 3 characters.
Yeah, but isn't it weird how in the wireframe there are no
Doesn't
quotes at
show
all?
that.
All right, yeah, so we're just going to do age here. I hope you guys don't mind. But we can validate that as well. We can have like a restriction, hey, the author needs to be at least 10 years old, if we want. All right, maybe just to practice doing that. All right, fair enough. So we know kind of what our model is roughly going to look like. Let's go in here and let's say we're going to require this Mongoose file. Do you guys remember where it's going to be? It's going to be inside server, inside config, and right there, right? Okay, cool. We don't have this file yet, so I better create it if we want this thing to run. All right, let's go create a folder here, server folder. And inside that, I'm going to have a config folder. I'll also have controllers. And then I'll also have our models, right? Okay, and then inside this config folder, let's create that mongoose.js. All right, what do I need to require in here? Mongoose itself. The namesake. Oh, I keep doing that. Goodness. All right, mongoose. Okay, fair enough. And then what am I going to do next in this file? I gotta connect to the database. Exactly. All right, so let's do it. Mongoose.connect, and then I need to pass in this connection string, right? So it's going to be MongoDB localhost in this case. The name of our database is just going to be authors. I know that's pretty creative. Yeah, really creative. All right, and then we're going to pass some different options here. All right, so we'll say we're going to use that new URL parser. We're going to say use, find, and modify. Easily, yeah, unified topology. Yeah, all this stuff, right? Okay, fair enough. Now, I've determined that I'm really only going to have one model in this case. You guys may not always have only one model, but we will here. So I'm not going to do the read dir sync. I hope you guys don't mind. All right.
The what?
The read dir sync, where we actually read an entire models directory and see what all the files are in there. Let's just require the one file we need, right? So we know we're going to require our model. Let's set that up real quick. So we'll say require, and I've got to go up one level, and then into my models. Oops, not models. And then this is going to be the author model. Okay, do I have this file yet? No, not yet. So let's make it. All right, here we go. Author.js. What do I need inside here? Mongoose, our friend. Mongoose. Okay. And then I'm going to create my schema for this this author model, right? So let's create that. We'll say const author schema equals a new instance of mongoose.schema. And let me, okay, there we go. Cool. All right, so we know that we're going to have a name and an age. Let's get those set up. So we'll say name, and we'll say the type of this is just going to be a string. Required, I'm going to pass in an array here, and I'm going to say true for the first element. So that means it is required. And then in the second element of the array, I'm going to say what do I want the message to be if they don't provide it. So we'll say please provide a name. Okay. Fair enough. So that was name. Then we'll also have age here. This is going to be type number. And then let's have a special validate function for this. All right. So we'll say validate. And for the first argument here, I should be able to provide some kind of validation function. So I'm going to just say I'm taking in an age. I'm going to just do this as an arrow function. I'm going to return whether age is greater than, let's say 10, right? I mean, you'd have to be a pretty young author if you're like 9 or something like that, right?
I thought I was an author.
Did you? Okay. All right, and then let's say please enter an age greater than 9. Okay, fair enough. So we've got this special validation function here that's just going to return whether age is greater than 9. That will return a Boolean, right? True or false right there. Okay. Gangsta. All right. Yeah. All right, and then we also want timestamps. That's pretty typical, right? Created at and updated at. Yes, we have a question.
Do we have the required for age?
Require for what?
For A. Like you put validate, but you don't put require.
Yeah, should we put required too? Maybe, right? All right. Let's do that then. Or I could just say, make this a little bit more compound. So let's say age is not equal to undefined, and age is greater than 9. Right?
How did you choose Unicode for this?
I know a lot of people ask about that. So I use this font called Thera Code, and then once you get that installed and you use it in VS Code, you have to turn on ligatures in your settings. Just those two things. And I can send out instructions to anyone who's interested. All right, cool. So now what else do we need to do? We've created our schema. What's the next step in here?
Model.
I have to actually register my model, right? Okay, so how do I do that?
Mongoose. Model.
Okay,
The name of the model.
we'll call it author,
The scale.
and then we're going to pass in the schema here. Okay, very good, cool. So inside my server.js, I'm now requiring this file that exists, so we should be able to actually run this app and not have any problems, right? Let's just open up our terminal and try to do it. Clear this out, nodemon server.js. Okay, we're running without problems, so that's good. All right, excellent. So what's usually the next part that we need to handle down here after line 5? So we've acquired this mongoose file. What else are we going to do to make this app run? Yeah, some routes, right? Okay, so next we would do something like require. We'd go into the server, into the config, and then go to routes, right? Yeah, and then what are we going to do with this when this comes back?
Invoke it.
We're going to invoke it, all right, against the application. Okay, but I'm not going to save it just yet because I know that this file doesn't even exist. All right, fair enough. So let's go create it. Here inside config, let's create routes.js. All right, and what am I going to need to require here inside routes.js? Mongoose, okay? Mongoose. Oops. Okay, and then what am I going to do with Mongoose? I need access to something in order to...
The model. You're going to call up the model.
Okay. Do we really need Mongoose here?
No, we don't.
Somebody got me going on Mongoose. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe we don't need that, right? All right, yeah. Maybe we just need our author's controller, no?
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
All right.
Mongoose on all of my rooms.
Oh, really? You just got so used to requiring it, right? Okay, so let's do this. Let's say authors CTL, and I'm going to get that by going up one level into my controllers, and then authors, right? Do I have this file yet? No. All right, so maybe we better create it. Let's go in there. We'll do authors. All right, now what do we need inside the authors controller? Our old friend Mongoose. Let's get Mongoose. All right. And what are we going to do with Mongoose now? Because we need a reference to our author model, right? How do we get that?
Const.
So we'll say const author equals mongoose.model, and then we'll call it out by name. Excellent. All right.
You don't need to put author schema in the second.
It's back here in my actual author model.
That's author.
Yeah, right now I'm in the controller.
What's plural?
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So here we are. What are we going to be exporting from our author's controller?
Module.
It's going to be an object, exactly. So we'll say module.exports equals this object here, and we're going to have some different controller methods here, so let's double check what we need. We need to be able to get all authors, we need to add one, and we need to get one by ID, right? And update. So is that 4 different things?
Right.
Oh yeah, we need to be able to delete too. My bad. Alright. Great. So let's create some different functions here. How about we start with index? Sounds good, right? Let's do our index function. It's going to take in a request and a response. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say author.find, and that should give me all the authors in my database, right? Then what I'm going to do is take my authors and I'm just going to res.json, a little nested object here that has authors inside of it. Alright. Probably not going to do a .catch in here because I don't anticipate we're going to be running into any errors, but you guys can do .catches if you like. Alright, so let's just start out with that. So let's save this guy here. Let's go back to our routes real quick. And let's just set up a simple route. So again, what are we going to be exporting here from our routes.js?
Module export.
A function. I heard it right here. Yeah, we're going to be exporting a function, right? And that function is going to take in an application. And then what we're going to do is we're going to apply our different routes, kind of one by one, right? So we'll say app.get, and we'll go /API/authors. And then what are we going to pass in here as the callback for this guy? So authorctl.index. Okay. Good deal. For which the static files that we're talking about? Because we're not going to get into that just yet. That's the whole Angular front end. All right. So let's keep our terminal open and make sure that we don't break anything. I'll go back to server.js. I need to shrink this a little bit. Okay, let's save it and we're good to go. Right here, right? Nothing's broken, so that's nice. Let's test it out. Let's just make a GET request to our / and then API and then /authors. All right. So open up our old friend Postman. Postman. Yeah, we should have like a theme song for this app or something. You've just been Postman.
Post Malone song.
There you go. All right. Nice. So let's make a GET request to localhost 5000 API/authors. Oh wait, I already have authors. Oh, this must have been from the last time. All right, well that's all right. We know it's working, right? Okay, you guys won't be mad at me if I had some data in my database, right?
We can let it slide this time.
All right, all right.
First class.
Hey, it makes us have to do less work, right? We don't have to insert these guys anymore. All right, just to kind of keep it fresh, let's go in and delete that database. All right, so Mongo, I'm going to use authors, and then we'll say db.drop database. Dropped. Okay, good. All right, cool. Let me make that request one more time. All right, now we have an empty array. I've successfully.
Erase your mistakes.
Man, you're a tough audience. All right, so we know that one's working. That's nice. Probably the one that we want to build next so that we can actually have some stuff to get is the create method, right? All right, so let's do that. Just minimize that there. So let's go back to our authors controller and let's create the create. Take in a request and a response. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say author.what create, And then I'm going to pass in what? Rec.body. Okay, cool. And then I've got a .then here, which is going to take in the author, assuming it was created, right? And I'll say res.json author. Okay. I can have a .catch here because maybe we'll have a situation where someone doesn't pass our validations. Okay, and then that callback function is going to take in an error, and I'll pass that back to my client. So I'll say something like errors E. We'll say E for now, but we'll kind of examine it later because we need to look at the structure of that to make sure we return them back the way we want to. All right, cool. So we've got this new method. Now I need to plug that back into my routes, right? So I want to say when I hit a post request to API/authors, let's use that create function that we just made. App.post API. Oh my gosh. And what am I going to say here for my callback function? Get out of there. All right. CTL.create. Okay, and we're all saved up. Let's go test it out in Postman. So we'll go post, and then the key thing here is that we need to change this. So I'm going to go to my body here, and I need to change this to raw and JSON right here. Okay, so let's enter in an author. You guys have any favorites? Malone? It's comedy hour here. All right, Stephen King. All right, that sounded legit. Let's do Stephen. Stephen King. How old do you think he is?
Like 98.
98? You really think he's that old?
I'm saying 65.
Oh, he's got to be older than 65, right? Maybe like 70?
72.
72.
It's off by 7.
Okay. All right, there we go. Let's enter Stephen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did. Whoa. Why didn't I get back an error, though? All right. Okay, so let's say name. Why was I saying author? Whew. Good catch, Anna. What is going on here? Job, Anna. So let's go to our terminal here and see what's going on here. So we made this post request to that route, and we're getting back an empty object? Did anyone see that? What happened there? Empty object. Is it in my database? All right, so let's go back to, whoops, Mongo. So sometimes you guys may want to have a Mongo terminal open just to be checking these things. So let's go use authors. Okay, and then we're going to say db.authors.find. I'll say .pretty. Oh.
Go to your server.js. Do you need the express.json part? App.use.
Bingo. Nice find. Oh, that's what you were saying.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying the express.static. Very good. Yeah, so the next step, had we got, yeah, this is good. The next step that we should have taken, had it gotten that far, is we should have just logged out rec.body. And what would rec.body be? Anyone know? No, I mean before we fixed it, but what would it be initially?
Undefined.
Undefined. Yep. So rec.body only gets defined once our middleware is in place. All right. So let's do that up here.
Have our
Malware? All right, cool. So we're going to say app.use. Okay, and then we'll say express.json. All right, let's try that again. There's Steven. Say it again.
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams, sure. Yeah, let's do a couple more. Douglas Adams. Oh, nice find. He's dead. All right, cool. Doug is in the mix.
Gary Paulson.
Gary Paulson.
Red Hatchet. Great book.
How old's Gary?
I'm not sure I read it when I was in like sixth grade.
Okay. So if we had to guess, maybe
Let's say
50?
50, yeah.
Okay, 50. Okay. Excellent. Let's try to create someone that has an age of 5. We want to make sure this is working, right? Woo! There we go. We got a nice fat big object here. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Later on, we're going to have to examine this object a little bit. Because notice how it's got sort of a nested structure. We've got errors, then we got more errors inside that. Then we finally get to the message that we're interested in. All right. Cool. So we know that our validation is working. That's good to know. Now, if I go back and I make a GET request to this route, I should have 3 different authors, right? Excellent. I've got those 3 authors. Cool. So the next thing that we want to be able to do is we want to be able to get a specific author by ID. Let's set up that route as well. So let's go into our authors controller. And let's call this get by ID. Okay, we'll take in a request and a response again. And then I'm going to go author.find by ID. Where am I going to get that ID from? Let's get it from the params. Exactly. So we'll say rec.params.id. Okay. Our .then should return an author. And I will then res.json author. Okay. .catch, maybe we didn't find that specific author, so we would probably just send back some kind of an error right now, right? Error E for now. Okay, cool. So we're all set to go. We also need to add that to our routes as well, right? So what should our route be for this guy? Exactly. :ID. And then what's the callback I'm going to put in there? Yeah, authors CTL dot get by ID. All right. Excellent. So let's test that out. Let's see if we can get an author by ID. I'm just going to grab one of these IDs here, Douglas Adams, you win. And let's put that up in here. His ID. There he is. Douglas Adams. All right. So we're almost there. Really, the only thing that we need to do now is, well, we have a couple more things. We've got delete, right? And then we also have update, which we can write pretty easily. Let's do delete because that's probably going to be pretty easy to do. Okay. So I'll come down here and we'll create a delete function. Again, takes in a request and response. I'm going to do author, find by ID, and delete. What am I going to pass in here? rec.params.id. Okay. rec.params.id. Okay, cool. And then our .then, I'm just going to say something. I'm going to res.json, and I'm going to say status success. Okay, if we have some kind of an error, let's just send that back as well. Res.json errors e. All right, cool. So let's try to delete Douglas Adams. I also need to add this back to my routes.js as well, right? So what should this look like? App.what? What kind of request? We're making a delete request, exactly. So let's say app.delete.
Good.
And then you always have the best sounds coming from over there. Cracks me up. All right, cool. And then what are we going to put as the callback? So authors CTL dot delete. All right, excellent. Let's save that and let's try to delete one of these authors. So I've got Doug Adams's ID here. Let's just change this to a delete request. Status success. We successfully deleted Doug. So if I go back to get all of my authors, let's make sure. Oh gosh, I don't know why it does that. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now Doug is gone. We successfully removed him. All right, cool. The only other thing that we need to do is to just update somebody by ID. All right, so we're almost there. So let's go ahead and write that method. Back in our authors controller, we'll call it an update, request and response. Okay, I'm going to use my old friend here, find by ID and update. Okay, what are the things I need to pass in here to this function call? I need to pass in the ID. That's the first argument that this takes. So that would be rec.params.id. Okay, the second argument is going to be what? Rec.body. Maybe I'll be a little bit more explicit here. But I agree with the whole rec.body thing. So let's just say the name is going to be rec.body.name, right? Age is going to be rec.body.age. Okay. And then you also have the option of providing some other options down here. So I can say I want to get back the actual updated document. I don't want to see the old one. Because normally it would just give you back the old document. I'm going to say new true. All right. Very good. What am I going to chain to this? .then, right? And we'll have my updated author, and I'll just res.json that updated author. .catch, you know the drill. Errors e. All right. Looks like we're in pretty good shape. We just need to add this again to our routes.js. So let's go back here and let's say app. What kind of request is this one going to be? A put request, because we're updating something. App.put, and we'll go /API/authors/ID. Callback will be what? CTL.update is what we were calling that. All right, excellent. Let's test this out. Let's grab an ID of somebody we want to change. Let's say we're going to change Steven. Okay. Let's set up a put request for Steven. /that, and then let's go modify our body a little bit. So let's say I'm just going to change this to not Stephen King. Yeah, definitely not. I'm going to delete his age to see if our validations are working as expected. All right. So let's go ahead and send this put request. Ooh, why did it? Ooh, it allowed us to nullify it because we said we wanted the age to be not undefined. Ooh. How about if I do this? Let's change our model slightly. Inside our validate function, I'm just going to say age, and age is greater than 9. Because what's going to happen here is if age is undefined or null, that should return false, right? True. It should. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, exactly. That could be confusing if you say it like that. All right. So let's try that one more time. I'm just going to submit the same exact request after I changed my validate function. Okay. Hold on one second.
put new true, don't you usually put validators true?
Oh yeah, run validators. You're absolutely right. Let me add that in there real quick. Boy, it's been a long day. All right, cool. So let's add that in there. I'm gonna change his age back to 72 for now, and then we'll try it without. Okay, so we changed this to not Stephen King. His age is 72. Let's try to submit it with no age here. Why is that allowing it to be nullified? Okay. That wasn't exactly working the way I expected it to.
Put in not equal null.
Yes, it's saying not equal null. Wouldn't it be actually undefined though?
Both.
Alright, let's do both. So it's not null and age is not undefined. Right? Jeez, come on, Mongoose. Doesn't seem to be doing anything for me.
That still didn't work.
What?
That still didn't work.
Still didn't work.
I don't understand how that's possible.
I don't either.
Let me shoot Mongoose a text. I'll ask him what's going on.
All right. Let's go with Tom's idea. Let's just add a required in there, right? Let's simplify. Let's make our lives easier. All right. So we'll say required, and then again it's going to be this array. We'll say true, and then the message will be please enter an age. Okay. I'll just fix up this validate so that we're just looking at age over 9. Let's try it one more time. Ooh, finally we got an error. Okay.
I've never had to try so hard for that.
Yeah, man, don't take any shortcuts here. You could pay for it dearly. All right. So our API is completely fleshed out, right? Did we forget anything? Inside our authors control, let me look back at the routes real quick. We've got everything, right? So we can get an author by ID, we can get all authors, we can create an author, we can delete one, and then we can update one. So we're good to go, right? The API is completely established. All right, what's next? Angular, big bad A, right? Let's get that going. So open up the old terminal. I'll get out of Mongo.
Knock the dust off the terminal real quick.
Yeah, knock some dust off that terminal. Let's clear out of here and let's go create our Angular app. What's the command for that? New public. Yeah, or any name. It's going to say, do you want to add routing? Yes, we do. We know we're going to have multiple routes. Stick with CSS here. All right, and then as that's building, let's go check out what we need to do with our middleware, right? Because we want to be able to make sure that Angular can load up all those script files that we were talking about there on the whiteboard. Okay, so how do I ensure that? Time for some middleware, right? We're going to do app.use. What are we going to pass to this function? Express.static. Okay. Name. This is cool. I'm getting like I'm getting answers from all corners of the room. I like that. Public /dist/public. Okay. Excellent. So that much is good. Now, what's the other thing that we were doing earlier today so that we can ensure that when I refresh an Angular app on, say, the non-index route, that it actually works? Do you guys remember? App.all. So we have a couple places we could do it. We could do it in here after our server routes, or we can actually do it inside the routes file. I'm going to do it inside the routes file. You guys can do it either way. So I'll just come down here. We'll say app.all. Okay. And again, we're going to say it's an asterisk because we want it to be a catch-all. No matter what the route is, let's go ahead and send it to our Angular app. So this takes a callback, request and response, and we're just going to say res.sendFile. Oh man, why does it keep doing this to me? It's like you guys can't see anything when that's happening, right? That's annoying.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up because it like blocks.
That's absolutely horrible.
You type a lot faster than I do.
Okay, so let's, at the directory that we're at, let's go up a couple levels, and then we're going to go inside our public, inside our dist, and then inside public, and then index.html, right? Okay. So this will allow us to refresh on a non-root route and actually have our Angular do what it's supposed to do, right? All right, so let's see if our Angular app was done. It initialized a Git, so that's all good. Now what do we need to do to actually run this guy?
You know what?
Yeah, we're going to do build and then -- watch. Now I'm not inside my Angular directory right now, so I need to get there in order to actually run that command. So we'll say cd public, and then we'll go ng build -- watch. Okay. Cool. We're good to go. Let's try to load up just the root route of our app. So we'll go localhost 5000.
Oh, yeah.
Am I getting some kind of an error here?
To do the build.
I don't know that I ever turned the server off. Did I?
What
What's happening here?
what port are you listening at?
5000. So yeah, port's right. No errors in there. If we go into, okay, so we are getting all of our Angular files, right? Huh. Because usually the default Angular app has a bunch of stuff in it, no?
Yes.
If you have
So-
that, if you have that HTML file,
That big logo.
Yeah, so the HTML file clearly is being served to the client. We can see here that all of our scripts are being loaded down there, right? There's just nothing in the page right now. So that's kind of unusual. So if we go into our public folder,
should be able to type HTML.show.
all right. Okay, so our app.component.html, sure seems to have some stuff in it, no? Wow. All right.
Just has to reset it, turn on, so.
Wow, what is going on here?
Maybe you have to turn on that JSON extension.
Turn.
Okay, he got it.
Yeah, it's like when all else fails, just like undo the things that you just did, right?
I follow you on this one.
Maybe there's like a misspell somewhere.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Or maybe you have to install the build again. Probably didn't. Just skip the file.
I did mine through the server.
Wow, what the heck? Why is it working in Brave but not in Chrome? That is a supreme.
Dark web.
That is a serious. Okay, I'll try to figure it out later, but that's weird. Quite strange. All right, so at least our Angular app is working. That's a relief. All right, now let's look and see what kinds of routes we need to do for this project. We just need these 3 routes, right? We need the index route, which is going to show all of our authors. We need the new route, which is going to have this form. And then we also need the route where we can look at an author by ID and update that author.
Didn't you turn off 2 JSON extensions? Maybe
Yeah, so well the other one was already off, and then I turned off the second one. So yeah, now they're both off. Alright, let me just close out of this guy. I'm gonna rip out everything from here, and then I'm just gonna put back in that router outlet. Maybe this will work. Okay, cool, because that's kind of the only thing that we need. Also, if we look at our wireframe here, notice that there are some things that are on all of the pages. Did you see that? So I've got favorite authors on all 3 routes. I can easily put that in my main app component because I know I want that to appear no matter what the page is. Alright, so let's do that. I'll just do an H1 tag or something like that. H1 favorite authors. Go back to Brave here, refresh that. Alright, favorite authors. Cool. Other than that, it doesn't look like anything is shared by all 3 routes, right? These links are a little bit different. Also, the purple text is a little bit different as well. So, I got one thing that's complete. All right, very good. So let's create some other components, right? We know we have 3 routes. Let's just create the components that are going to go to those 3 routes, and then we'll test them out. Okay, so we'll call it all authors. So I'm going to go back to my terminal here, and I only have 2 terminals open. I'm going to open a third. I need to go into my public directory because I'm going to do some Angular stuff. Okay, and now let's go nggc to generate a component, and we'll say all authors. All right, now we'll go nggc. We'll call it update author.
What was the first component?
All authors. Yeah.
If you're doing more than one, can you do like a space and be multiple?
Yeah, so we could do all these kind of together. So I could say, and I don't know if we could do it the way that you're suggesting. You were suggesting to just separate the names by a space. I'm not sure about that. But I'm just going to separate the commands with the double ampersand means let's run both of these commands sequentially. All right, so the last one that we were going to do was going to be the new author component, right? All right, excellent. So now that I've got these 3 components and they're registered, that's pretty cool. Let's go get the routing worked out. So we don't need to worry about that anymore, right? So where do I find my routing? Should be right in here, yeah, so app-routing.module.ts. Okay, so the routes that I want, the first one was just going to be, we'll say, path, was it authors / new? I don't know, just / new, all right. Good deal. So we'll say the path is new, and then the component that goes with that is going to be new author component. Good. Then the other one that we want is we want to be able to look at an author by ID, and the path for this looks like it's going to be edit / the ID. Okay, so we'll go path edit / some ID. And that component is going to be update author component. Okay. Notice how when I tab, it's actually importing these guys for me, which is very important. We need to import them. Okay. Finally, I have an all authors component that I want, and then the path I want that to be at is just going to be an empty string, and because that's an empty string, I may have to do path match full. So I'll leave it off and we'll see if we get an error. I believe we will. Okay, so we'll say all authors component. All right, now let's save that and let's refresh. Whoops, not in there. Here. No error on that, huh? All authors works. I didn't need a path match equals full. I think the path match full actually comes into play if you're doing your redirect. Okay, So if I was redirecting to somewhere else, then I would need to specify path match full, just like we did earlier today. All right. So that works. All authors works. Let's also try new, right? Forbidden. What? What did we do there?
I think we are missing the slide for the maybe call.
But you don't.
I was? Why is that an issue? So in Angular routing, you actually don't include a forward slash in the beginning.
I got same problem early today, and then I moved the one app.all from the route, I bring that to the server, and it's working.
You moved it from the routes.js to your server.js, and it made some difference?
And it's working. I don't know how.
Huh.
But I got the same same error.
Yeah, I got that earlier. I had put in path resolve for my app.all file.
Alright.
I had it in routes.
Forbidden. I'm just sending my index.js. What? Network. So this error is actually happening from our backend, clearly. In our routes.js line 10, that's where we're sending the Angular file, right? Right. Exactly. So that's where we're sending, yep, app.all. And you said using path.resolve fixed, or that did not fix it for you because
That
it was
fixed it.
something else, right? Oh, that
was
did
different.
fix it?
I had like a few for the path, for the forbidden error path. I do like var path equals require path, and then res.send file path.resolve. I don't know, I just googled forbidden errors, that one came up.
That sounds like a Stack Overflow.
It was a Stack Overflow right there.
Just make a symbol, just move everything to. I moved the last sentence to the
Oh, you did, yeah.
to the server. Okay.
Someone else is getting it too?
Yeah,
What the heck is going on? All right.
Yeah.
Seems like this should be okay. All right, so let's try it for a minute here. App.all. Okay. Don't really need the request response. We'll go res.send file. Oops. Dir name plus public dist public index.html. Oh my gosh.
Don't tell.
See, that stuff like that really bothers me. Why would it make any difference where I'm requiring that from?
It's buggy.
All right. All right. Well, let's not waste any time on it. Again, it's something else that I'll have to look into. All right. So let's just set up our main page where we're showing all the authors. That should be fairly straightforward, right? Cool. Let's go in here. Okay, so inside of our public source folder, we've got this all authors component. Okay, and then I'm just going to, sorry, let me try to shrink this a little because everything's so bunched up. Oh man, I opened up the test file. Sorry about that. All authors component, here we go. Okay, this is what I want. All right. Now, what I'm going to need to do is actually go grab all my authors for this page, right? What do I need to use to get all my authors? We need to use our service, which we haven't yet created, right? All right, so let's create that so that we have it. So back in here, let's do nggs for service, and we'll say HTTP. Okay. So it created that for us. And then, in order for us to use this, let's go inside our service here. What do we need to inject to our HTTP service? The HTTP client, right? So I need to go inside my constructor and say private HTTP client. We'll say it's an instance of HTTP client, and it'll probably give us that Selenium one. Yes, I knew it. Just knew that would happen. All right. So this would be, is it common HTTP?
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So we got that. Now we want to have some methods here, right? We want to be able to go get all of our authors. So let's create that guy. We'll say get authors. Okay. And then we'll do this.http client. We'll make a GET request, and we're going to go back to our API/authors. That returns what, guys? An observable. So I'm just going to return that observable from this function here. And then wherever we call the function from, we'll have to subscribe to it, right? Good deal. All right, now in order to be able to use this service, there's something else that I need to do inside my app.module, right?
Register it.
Couple things, yeah. So I'm gonna have to register my service itself, and then also I need to add to my imports the HTTP client module, right? Okay, so let's do that. HTTP client module. Okay, and then I imported that. That one, fortunately, seems to come from the correct place. We got lucky. All right, nice. Now the other thing is I want to include my HTTP service into this providers array right here, right? So let's say HTTP service, tab it out, and then it imports it for us. Excellent. So we're all good to go. So now that we've got that method, let's go back to our all authors component, and then let's use it. All authors component. So here, I need to inject my service so that I can use it inside this component, right? So again, HTTP service of type HTTP service. Okay, tab, and then it'll import it for me. And then when this component initializes, what I want to do is I want to go get all of my authors. So let's go up here and let's just create a variable called authors, which is going to be this empty array to start with, and then let's go retrieve them. So what am I going to run here inside ng on init? Yeah, which is what? Okay, good. HTTP service dot get authors. That's going to give us an observable, so then we can subscribe to it. Right? I'm going to get back some data. We'll say that's of type any. And then I'm just going to say this.authors equals data.authors. Okay? So this part should be good. Now, in order to actually show them on the page, I'm going to need to kind of iterate through them, right? So let's look at our wireframe real quickly. We want to have a couple things on this page. The add an author link, and then we have quotes by. All right, very good. So let's go to our all authors component. Rip out this guy. Whoops. Okay, so this will be add an author. And then I'm going to say router link equals new, /new. And then this was something like we have quotes by. All right, and then underneath that, we're just going to have a table where we iterate through all the authors. So let's do table, thead, tr, th. I'm going to have name, age, and then some actions, so that'll be times 3. I'm going to go up a couple levels, tbody, tr, td, times 3. Okay, so we'll do name, age, actions, and then here, how am I going to iterate through these guys? Or girls?
G4.
ng4.
Authors.
Yeah, let's say something like let author in of authors. Okay. By the way, where's Connor?
He's too cool for stuff like
I don't understand. He's been in every single thing. I just
It's too good.
it's throwing my vibe off.
And moved on to the elite level.
That's okay. We don't need him. No, just kidding. All right. So I wanna output the name. What do I use for that? Our templating stuff.
That will tell you.
Double curlies. All right. So we'll say author.name, and then here we'll have author.age, and then finally we'll have our actions. So we're just gonna have a couple buttons here. One is gonna be to edit, and the other one's gonna be to delete. Right. All right, so we'll have a button here, edit, another button, delete. Okay. So both of these are going to need to be able to handle some kind of logic, right? So let's just save this and go back to our page and make sure that it's at least rendering our authors out. Something broken all of a sudden? Hold on. No. Did I not save that
Because
file?
You want the new, you want the slash new or something. I mean on your
Wait,
webpage.
say that one more time?
That you're not on that image.
You know, in the index space. No, on your webpage. You in the new.
Yeah, good point. All right. So, all right. So there are our authors. That's good. All right. Now what we need to do is we want to kind of handle some of this edit and delete stuff. So Stephen King currently doesn't have an age. That's kind of sucky. All right. Maybe we'll add that back later. But basically, when we hit the edit link, what that's going to do is it's going to take us to the edit page, right? If we hit the delete link, we're actually going to want to basically delete it on the spot and then just refresh these guys. Or take it out of our list, I should say. All right. So let's just kind of add some handlers to these guys. So on click for the edit guy. Let's say I'm just going to create a function called go to edit page. Okay, and what do we probably want to pass in there?
The
Yeah, I was going to say the ID. So let's just say author.
This is my favorite part of Angular. These unclick functions are all.
Yeah, isn't that cool? All right. And then the other thing is we're going to have this function that will be able to delete an author. So we'll say delete author. And then again, we're just going to pass in the same thing, the author's ID. Right? All right, excellent. So inside this all authors component, if I want to be able to go to a specific author's edit page, what else am I going to need to inject in this component?
input.
No, not input, because we're not doing nested components right here.
Route, something else.
We need the router. We need to inject router so that we can actually programmatically navigate, right? Okay, cool. So let's do that. Inside of our constructor, press enter here, and we'll do router, which is going to be of type router. Come on, give me some auto. Since it didn't give me the autocomplete, oh Jesus, come on. Yes! These are small victories, people. All right, so now that we have this router here, when we click that edit button, and we're going to create this little function here, so we're going to say go to edit page, which is going to take in some ID, right? And then we're going to say this dot underscore router dot navigate, and then we have to pass in an array. So this is going to be, the first part of the array is just going to be the ID. And then we're also going to append /edit, because that's the route that they told us in the wireframe, right?
Edit.
Oh yeah, I have that mixed up, sorry. So it's edit first. That's a little unusual to be that way. So let's say edit, and then I'm going to go /+ID. Alright, so let's see if that works. If we go back here, reload our page, if I click on the edit button here, excellent. So we actually got to that individual author's edit page. Alright, let's go back. Let's handle our delete. So let's say delete author. We're going to take in an ID again. And then here, what am I going to run? So I have to use my service, right, and actually send a delete request. So we'll say this dot HTTP service, right, delete. Did we not make this yet? All right, I think you're right. Yeah, we certainly didn't. Okay, so we don't yet have a delete author method. So let's make one. Let's say delete author, and that's going to take in an ID, right? We're going to return this HTTP client dot delete request, and that's going to go to /API/authors, and then we're going to add on this ID that we just took in. Alright, so let's go back to the component here and see if it's there. Delete author, and we're going to pass in that ID. Now what we're going to do is we're going to subscribe to this, right? Because this is an observable. Okay. Now here's the tricky part. What are we going to do now? Are we going to just go get all our authors again, make another HTTP request? Or are we going to try to remove this author without making another request? Let's just get rid of it without making an extra request, right? So I'm going to blow your minds here, maybe. But I'm going to use a filter function, okay? So we're going to say this.authors equals this.authors, and I'm going to filter them. So basically, yeah, mind blown. So I'm just going to filter out, or I'm going to include everyone except the one that has that specific ID. All right. So the filter function actually takes a callback, and the callback is going to be how do we determine which ones to keep and which ones to get rid of. So if my callback returns true, that means keep it in my result. If it returns false, discard it. All right. So I'm going to say, I'm going to iterate through all my authors, and I'm going to say return true if author._ID does not equal that ID. Okay?
That's gnarly.
It's kind of gnarly. Yeah, I want to kind of like sit on this for a second before we just like slam past it, because it's like, wait a minute, what's going on there?
Makes sense.
So let me close this out so that we can look at it a little bit better. So what I'm doing here is I'm reassigning my authors to the current authors filtered. Okay, so I'm invoking filter, and I'm passing this callback function that says if the author ID is not that ID that we just took in and deleted, then let's keep it in our list. Okay? So that's all we're saying. Any questions about this before we move on? No?
What does the delete author, what's the function inside that method to do the HTTP?
Yeah, so if we go back to the HTTP service, you can see it's just returning this delete call to that route right there.
There's no delete on that route? So you're
What
just
do you
getting
mean?
back what's the function for that route?
Well, do you mean on the back end or oh, okay.
The server?
Yeah, let's look at it. So on the server, all we had was author's controller. It's this guy right here. So we're just finding by ID and deleting.
So if you're doing that, isn't it deleting it? So why do you have to filter it?
Yeah, so here's what's going on. So yeah, it's like, why do we have to do anything? Well, on the front end, does the front end know that that is no longer in our database?
Not sure.
Not yet, not unless we do something about it, right? That's what the whole filtering is about. Because now I want to remove it from my list. I don't want the front end showing me the stale list that has an author in there who's no longer in my database.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. So let's try it. Let's refresh this real quick. Let's delete Stephen King. There he goes. Bye-bye. All right. Pretty cool, right? So we got this page completely working. We can kind of move on to the other ones. All right, nice. Do you guys want to go to, well, let's go to new next. Probably makes the most sense, right? Let's go to the new page. All right, let me close out some of these guys here. Now, one thing before we start on the new page, what am I going to want to do if I'm using forms in my application? You guys remember what that step was?
You need to import the form module.
Yeah, correct. So inside my app.module.ts here, I need to go down here in my imports and say forms module. Why doesn't that want to import?
Mine didn't say here.
Alright, fine, Angular. So let's go forms module. Yeah, from Angular forms, right? Alright, so that's a very important step. Otherwise, your Angular forms are not going to work the way that you're expecting them to. Okay, cool. So now let's go to our new author component. And then inside there, inside the TS file, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create this, basically an empty object that's like a shell of an author that I may want to create. So we'll just call it new author. New author. It's going to have a name attribute that's blank. It's going to have an age that is also blank. Okay. And now inside my component, I can basically create my form, right? So let me go to the wireframe real quick and see what we're supposed to say. We're supposed to say home and add a new author. All right. How do I do the home link again? Anyone remember? No? All right. It's just going to be a router link to / because that's going back to my index route, right? Say here, add an author.
Will href not work?
No, it will work. It's just that it will cause your page to do a hard reload. Yeah, this way we're just going to cruise right onto that other page really fast. Yeah. All right, great. So let's do a form in here. I don't need my action, right? I just need some kind of a submit handler. So we'll say here I'm going to invoke handle submit. And then inside that form, I'm going to have a couple inputs. So we'll say name, name. Now, because we're doing two-way data binding, what do I need to add here as a special attribute on this?
Banana.
Banana in a box.
The ng
Yeah, let's have some fruit. Okay. ng model. And then we're going to set that equal to our new author dot name. Okay. And then I'll do another input down here, which is going to be age. We'll say the type on this guy is a number. And then the name will be age, banana in a box again. ng model equals new author dot age. And then we always need a submit button. All right, so we're in pretty good shape here. Let's. The only thing that we really need to create is this handle submit function, right? So let's go back into our component here and let's create it. Handle submit. Uh-oh. What am I going to need inside this file that I don't have yet? I need to communicate with my backend. Service, yep. Okay, so let's inject that guy. So inside constructor, we'll say private HTTP service of type HTTP service. Okay, imported for me. So when I submit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this HTTP service dot. Ooh, we haven't created a method for this yet, right? Now we got to go back to our service file. Ugh. All right, let's set that up. So let's say create author. And what's that going to take in? Just some data about an author, so we can call it author if we want. Okay, and then I'm going to say return this HTTP client dot post, and that's going to go to API/authors. And then we're going to also pass along the author data that we took into the function. Okay, any questions about this before I go back to the other file? No? All right, new author component. Let's say this.http service.create author. And then what am I going to pass in here? This guy up here, right? This.new author.
So you created the new author for the two-way binding?
Correct. Yeah, so that way when my page loads up, I've got these as blank right away. Okay. Cool, so I'm going to subscribe to this because this is going to return an observable, right? All right. So let's say we're going to get back some data. Now this time I might have to have some special logic because according to the wireframe we need to do some validations. All right. So I'm just going to basically do a little conditional here. I'm going to ask, did I get back any errors? Because if I didn't, then everything's good and I can sort of navigate away from this page and go back to all authors, right? All right. So let's do something like this. We'll say if data dot has own property. So I'm asking, does it have this property called errors? Okay. And if it does, I'm going to have some error handling in there. We won't really do this right away. We'll come back to this. But if it doesn't, then I know that I successfully created an author, right? All right. So I'll just put in a little note here to do.
Oh.
Is that Connor? Oh my gosh. Error handling.
You get lonely out there?
Huh?
Did you get lonely out there?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we couldn't do it without you.
No, literally. Yeah.
All right. Cool. So in order to navigate away from this page, what else am I going to need inside here? You guys remember what we keep injecting when we want to programmatically change a person's page in Angular? Starts with an R. Router, right? Okay, so let's inject our router so that we have that.
How did you highlight the to-do?
Oh yeah, I have a plugin. I think it's called To Do or something like that, where it would do that for you. All right. So we'll say private router. It's going to be of type router, and I'll tab to get that auto imported for me. So if I didn't have any errors on my submission, let's just go ahead and route back to the index page so I can see all my authors again and see that that one I just created is now in my list. So So we'll go this dot router dot navigate. Pass in an array that just has this element, a / in it. Because I'm going back to my index route. All right. Let's go back to our application here. Let's click on, let's refresh this real quick because we made some changes. So we go to the add an author page.
Are you gonna add that JSON pipe thing?
Oh, you want me to? Does that matter to you guys? Because I'm kind of excited about it, but nobody else seemed excited about it. Pretty cool? All right, yeah, let's just put it in there so we can see that this is working. By the way, if you guys leave this in your exam or whatever, I'm not going to ding you for it. So that's okay. If you kind of use it to make sure that everything's working, no problem there. So let's just say new author and then pipe JSON. Let's refresh that real quick. All right, cool. We got a blank name and a blank age. Let's add an author. Who did we kick out before? Was it Gary Paulson? Oh yeah, it was Stephen King we kicked out. All right, so let's.
My author's still in there.
Stephen King. All right, let's put him back in. He was 72, right? All right. Hey, that was fast. See, I added him, and then I was navigated back to my index just like that. And that's what it feels like when you're in one of these single-page applications. The navigation is so fast. It wasn't a hard reload. Okay. All right. As I said, we're gonna handle errors in a little bit. Let's just go get the update page working, and then we'll come back to handling errors. All right. So what I'm going to do for the update page is I'm basically going to grab this because we're going to reuse it for the most part, right? I might make some small changes to it. So let me go like this. Let's go to our update component. And then inside here, what do we need in the wireframe here? It's going to say home and edit this author. Okay, so I'll just create my little home link here. Router link, oops, / home. And then I got a p tag here, edit this author. And then I've got this form again. Only this time, I'll probably change the name here so it's not new author anymore because this is an existing author in our database, right? So let's just, I'll highlight all these instances of it and just change them to author. So I did Command D to actually select multiple instances of that text. Okay, now let's go to our TS file here. Alrighty. What am I going to need inside here to actually, I need to get this author's data before I can even edit him, right? Or edit him or her. So there are going to be some different things that I need here. What's the main thing that I need?
Service.
Service. Good. Okay, so we imported that. So on init, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go get this author by ID. Do I have a method to do that in my service? Not currently. So let's make that, right? So we'll say get author by ID, which is going to take in some ID. And then what kind of request am I going to make here? Just a get request, right? It's going to be / API / authors / the ID that I just took in. Okay. And then here inside my component, I need to actually invoke that method. So we'll say this .http service .get author by ID, and then I'm going to pass in some ID. Uh-oh, do I know what the ID is yet? No. So I'm going to have to subscribe to my router params. Do you guys remember what else we need to bring in for that? the activated route, right? Yeah, so we'll say something like private route, which will be activated route. And then down here inside my on init, I'm going to actually subscribe to those routing params. So we'll say this dot route dot params, and then we'll subscribe to those params. Actually, maybe I'll do it on the next line here. Subscribe. Okay. It'll give us back some params. They will be of type params. And that should allow me to have that auto imported. Yes, it did. Very good. Okay, so once I get my params, then I can actually go make a request and get this author by ID, right? So I'm going to bring this line up. And what am I going to pass to this? Params.id. Okay. So we'll say params.id. Now I have to subscribe to this as well because this is also an observable. So let's go up here and let's say my author initially is just null. So what am I going to do when this observable gives me back some data? Anyone?
Just,
Data.author, right? So we'll say this dot author equals data.author. All right, very good. So that's all good to go. Let's see if we can actually get this working with the form. Let's go back to our app real quick. Refresh that. Go to our edit page for Stephen King. There we go. Okay, so we've got all our data up in here, including the timestamps as well, because that's showing us everything that's in that author object. All right. Now, how do we want to handle the update on this? Let's create a function. Handle submit. Okay. And then inside my component here, oh, we already had that. Okay, cool. So in here, in the handle submit, I'm going to try to use something from the service that I haven't created yet, right? It's another one of these functions that we have to write that we'll be able to update an author. So let's go back to our service. And we'll say we'll create this method called update author. It's going to take in an ID. It's also going to take in the new data that I want to pass, right? So we'll say new data. All right, and then what kind of request am I going to make here? Put request. And that's going to go to /API/authors. I will add on the ID here. And then the data that we're going to send along with that is going to be, wow, what did I call it? New data? All right. All right, very good. So that's all good to go. Let's go back to our update author component. Okay, so I'm going to do this dot HTTP service dot update author. And what do I need to pass in? I need to pass in the ID. Where am I going to get that from? Not going to get it from the params anymore because it's only available inside that callback function, right? So where can I get it from? This is kind of tricky. Do I have reference to something that has a hold of that ID? The author, right? Because the author now has an ID. By the time I'm submitting the form, I've gotten back my author. I know that for sure. Say it again. Yeah, we would say author dot underscore ID, right? Okay, and then I'm going to pass along an object here that has a name attribute. So we'll say this dot author dot name, and then the age will be this dot author dot age. Notice how we got red squigglies here. Why is that? Because it needs to be this dot author. Thank you, VS Code. All right. And then, so after I run this guy, this is an observable. So what am I going to do on in my subscription? According to the wireframe here, does it say what to do after you edit an author? No. All right, so it's not really telling us what we need to do after we edit, but how about we just go back to the index route? Does that make sense to you guys? All right, so let's do that. Let's subscribe to it. I'm going to get back some data. And then just like in my new component, I'm going to ask myself, were there any errors that were generated? Okay, so if data has own property errors, then again we can say, whoops, to do error handling. Else, we're just going to navigate them back to the index page, right? So if I'm going to navigate anybody, what do I need to have in here?
Router.
The router. All right. Private router. Oh, come on. My auto imports are very important to me. All right. Oh, I guess they came in. I didn't notice it because it didn't shift my code down a line, so I was like, wait a minute. All right. So cool, we've got our router, so I can say this dot router dot navigate. And again, I'm just going to go back to that index route, right? If it was successful. Okay, so let's give it a try. Let's try to edit Stephen King. Let's say he just magically got younger. Actually, let me refresh this. Let's say he's now 60. There we go. All right, so he got edited, and we came right back to that index page, and he's changed. So the only thing that we haven't done is our error handling. Everything else is good to go. All right. Now this is probably the least fun part. Handling our errors, right? Let's come back here, and let's take a quick look at these error objects. So it's got this kind of nested structure in it. The main error also has an errors path inside of it, and then inside there you can see that there are different key value pairs. So here I've got an age, and then I've got a message that goes with that. So if I had to write all this in dot notation, what would that look like? Yeah, like errors.age.message, something like that, right? All right. So I think what I'm going to do I'm going to make a slight change in our back end.
I'm going to need an extra 3 hours to complete this exam, I think.
Yeah, this is the part that's kind of a little bit of a drag, but all right. So let's go inside of our authors here, and the ones that we need to work with are going to be create and also our update, right? So in the event that we have an error here, instead of just passing this actual errors object, let's go one level in. Let's say e.errors. e.errors. I'm going to do the exact same thing for our update, which is here, e.errors. And then let me try submitting this guy again, and let's see if we can sort of flatten this errors out a little bit more so it's not so nasty. So I'll send that one more time. Oh, there we go. So now we have an object that has errors inside of it, and then has a key and then a message inside of it. All right, fair enough. All right. So if I get back something from my API that says we have errors, then we're going to need to do something with that in our HTML page, right? All right, so let's see how we can handle that. So let's go to our new authors, back in our public folder here, source, new author component. And in the TS here, I'm just going to create a an errors array. Okay? And what we'll do is we'll just simply loop through these guys in the template. So if we do have any errors, then we'll have something showing, right? It'll be pretty simple. It's not like super elegant error handling, but it'll be enough that I can alert a user that you've made a mistake here. You didn't follow the rules. All right, so back in my new author component, the HTML part, let's just loop through the errors up here, maybe above the form. So how do I do that again? I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say UL that has an LI inside of it, and then I'm going to do an ng4 in this LI, right? What's that? Oh, errors or whatever. ng4. And then we could say let error of errors. Okay, and then inside there, I'm just going to put the error, whatever it is. We can obviously like change the class if we want to. I can say class equals red. If I want, if I want to get fancy here, I can go into my, I can make a little red class, and we'll say color is red. All right, good deal. So by default, though, this is just going to be an empty array, right? We're basically looping through nothing. And then later on, if we get back some errors from our API, we'll just show those on the page. Whoops. So inside here, this is my to-do, right? Okay. Take out this to-do because this is where we're going to do things. So if we have errors, we need to look at what this looks like. So we're going to loop through the keys that are inside that errors object. This will be kind of tricky. So we'll say something like this dot errors, which currently is just this empty array, right? Actually, hold on one second. I'm going to push into that errors array. So let's say we're going to do for, and then we'll say let key in data dot errors. Does that trouble anybody? So let's see what that should give us back. So if we're looping through keys inside errors, that should give us back age as one key, right? I don't have any other keys because that was the only error that I had currently. All right. So if we loop through those keys, we'll do something like this dot errors dot push, and I'm going to say data dot errors, the key of the error, and then I want the message, the custom message that I just made in my backend, right? Okay. Now the other thing that I want to do, because if somebody's just submitting this fresh, I'm probably going to want to just turn errors into an empty array again when they first click the submit button. So we'll just say this dot errors again is this empty array. All right, so this is inside our new author component. Let's give that a shot here. So let me refresh this page. All right, and let's try to submit an author just like that, right? let's go back to the code to make sure that this kind of makes some sense. I'll close that off over there. Okay, so my data had a property inside of it called errors, which was another object. And then what I wanted to do is I wanted to loop through the keys that were in that object. So I'm going to push to my errors array right here. Data.errors at that specific key. So I can't use dot notation here because I don't know what the key is, right? Could be anything. And then dot message. There are some different ways that you can handle this, but this is one of them. All right. Now the other thing that I want to do is I want to basically copy over this logic to my update component, right? So that they can't update something in a way that doesn't work either. So let's grab this little guy here, because that's going to be pretty consistent. I'll go into my update component, TS, and then we'll change this out. And then the other thing that I need is I need to create this errors array again inside here. So it's just an empty array currently. And then when we submit, let's empty out those errors again, because maybe they didn't make the same mistake the second time that they did the first. Okay, and then we have to go back to the template as well and just loop through those guys. So inside here, we'll do a UL, LI, and then this will be ng4, and then we'll go let error of errors. Oops. Why am I calling that message? Okay, cool. So let's try this out. So let's go home. Let's go to an author that we want to edit, Stephen King. I'm going to take out Stephen's first name. What the heck just happened? Why is that not validating? Look around like nobody knows what the heck's going on. Okay, so this is a little odd. So I've got null in my age, and I've got a blank name, right? Why are my validators not being run? If I go to server, authors, run validators is true. You're coding along with this, right, Tom?
Yeah, and for me, when I have an error, why editing, when I click submit, just redirect to the main page.
Oh,
Even
yours, yeah, yours.
something like this, like I don't do anything. Oh, it should be.
Wait, hold on
Yeah,
one
take some
second.
time. Yeah, just like, yeah, before just redirect to the main page.
Wait, I am getting errors here.
Yeah,
Why weren't they showing up in my template, though?
yeah.
Oh, they have your-
Try to refresh the page.
Oh, is that what I didn't
Now,
do?
Delete the page.
Jeez. Oh my gosh, that's what it was? I didn't refresh?
I'd be in a
Alright.
good mood tomorrow.
Man, sorry about that. Alright, so I told you authors was going to be long. It's long every single time. Sorry about the length. But yeah, so now we're getting validations on both the update and the new page. Alright. Let's close this out.